Now let's look at 4281 and 527 on data integrity. Data integrity is defined by TNI as the condition that exists when data is sound, correct, and complete, and accurately reflects requirements and activities. We as humans know right from wrong, but by documenting this and having staff sign off on it, you are really creating a cover your beer situation, where if an analyst chooses to go rogue, you as management have a document to point to that says, we told them what they could and couldn't do, and they signed off on it. There are 4 required elements within a data integrity system. They are data integrity training, signed data integrity documentation for all laboratory employees, periodic in-depth data monitoring, and data integrity procedure documentation. The data integrity procedures shall be signed and dated by top management. We will cover training a bit more in the following slides as we look at Section 527, but it's important to stress that the training does need to happen upon hiring and again on an annual basis. The training documentation needs to include a signed attendance record for the training, as well as a signed agreement from the employees that they have participated and understand their obligations. This really could be one and the same if the attendance sheet is worded properly. A lot of laboratories choose to have their staff sign off on the policy itself. In-depth data monitoring can occur alongside your internal audit. Whenever this is done, it is really the time to dig down deep into that data. Make sure that the cradle-to-grave theory of samples and standards, or from the time it arrives to the laboratory until it is disposed of after analytical testing, can be accomplished. This isn't just a cursory review of data for quality, but you need to consider traceability and timeframes as well. Documentation of the procedure is commonly done as an appendix to the quality manual. By doing so, it is generally signed by top management when they sign off on the quality manual itself. There is no one correct way to ensure confidential reporting of data integrity issues. Likely, you already have something in place within your organization. Some examples may include an open door policy, reporting to HR, whistleblower protection, and external reporting of data integrity issues. The key with data integrity investigations, if they must be done, is to keep them as confidential and quiet as possible. Of course, the size of your staff and the size of the problem will likely dictate how confidential the investigation is. The idea is that you don't need the world to know that there is a potential problem. Investigations should be open-minded, remember, innocent until proven guilty. Consider the intent of the problem and what was found. Was it done intentionally? Was it just a mistake or a lack of understanding? Making the call can be challenging. Be sure to follow any HR procedures or policies as well. You may need to institute your stop work procedure for non-conforming work, depending on the problem itself. At a bare minimum, you'll want to perform additional in-depth data reviews of anything coming out of that section of the laboratory where the problem was found. Consider the size of the problem as well. If you're not confident in your ability to investigate the problem, or you feel that it's become bigger than you first assumed, it may be best to call in the quote-unquote big guns. Reach out to your AB or a consultant who has more experience in this investigative area. Be sure to document the heck out of your investigation, not only for your own records, but to be able to show your assessor or your AB in the future. Corrective actions, preventative actions, in-depth data review, and internal audits. Now is not the time to be lackluster in your documentation and recording skills. Even if it's just page after page of handwritten notes, document it. Data integrity training shall be provided to a formal part of new employee orientation and shall also be provided on an annual basis for all current employees. That's the wording of 527. It must be given to new employees before they begin working in the laboratory. As an assessor, I'll make sure that this documentation is in place before the documentation for a demonstration of capability, and it must be redone annually. Data integrity training has to cover the understanding that what a problem, falsification of data is, and what could be considered a problem, obliterations in records, what we expect of them. Every city and company that I've ever been aware of has some sort of ethics agreement, and what the consequences are for not doing the right thing. They also need to understand that everyone makes mistakes, and reporting a mistake when found is the best way to prevent there being any unnecessary consequences. Data integrity training sources include external sources such as the TNI website, water and wastewater organizations. The American Public Health Laboratories, APHL, does an annual presentation as well, and there may be other organizations available. You can also create your own training. PowerPoint presentations are available if you search the internet from previous data integrity trainings based off of the TNI standard. The top deficiencies that we tend to see for data integrity are there not being signed training documentation. This is one of the few instances where signed training documentation is required by the standard. It needs to be available for every staff member that follows any process or procedure in your lab. This includes sample receipt and potentially more administrative type roles as well.